Folks, day 10 of the government shutdown. It's the first day the federal workers will miss their whole paycheck since the shutdown began October 1st. Office of Management and Budget Director Russ Vaught announced that the Trump administration has begun laying off government employees. Posting on social media, the rifts have begun, referring to reductions in force or layoffs. With the Senate now adjourned until next week and no deal in sight, it's increasingly likely that members of the military are going to miss their next paycheck, scheduled for October 15th. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries called out the vacationing Republicans for not wanting to reopen the government.
The government has been shut down for 10 days. Our men and women in uniform and hardworking federal employees are working without pay. Donald Trump can find the time to play golf, but he can't be bothered negotiating a bipartisan agreement to reopen the government and address the health care crisis that they've created, and House Republicans remain on vacation for 3 weeks. The American people are sick and tired of the chaos, crisis, and confusion that has been visited upon the country by Donald Trump and Republican complete control of Congress. As Democrats, our position remains very clear. We will sit down with anyone, anytime, any place, here at the Capitol or back at the White House to reopen the government, pay our federal employees, enact a spending agreement that meets the needs of the American people, and at the same time, address the Republican health care crisis that is devastating the American people. Donald Trump's strategy during this government shutdown that he has created has been to play golf and issue deepfake videos. Mike Johnson's strategy is to keep House Republicans on vacation. John Thune's strategy is to continue to do the same partisan thing over and over and over again and expect different results. That's legislative insanity. Our plea to our Republican colleagues is get serious about reopening the government. Let's have a conversation so we can find a bipartisan path forward to do the things that are necessary in a spending agreement to actually improve the quality of life of the American people and address the health care crisis that they've created, including by extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits. That's what we need to do right now so that tens of millions of Americans don't experience dramatically increased premiums, copays, and deductibles that's going to bankrupt them or deprive them of the health care that they need. Republicans have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They decided to shut the government down. Republicans in the House have decided to remain on vacation. Republicans canceled votes last week, they canceled votes this week, and now they've canceled votes next week. They're not serious about reopening the government. Republicans aren't even serious about paying our active duty troops.
But they have voted for temporary government funding legislation.
Republicans have voted for a partisan spending bill that continues to gut the health care of the American people and threatens to raise the cost of living on tens of millions of Americans in an environment where Republicans promised to lower the cost of living on day one. Costs haven't gone down, they've gone up. Inflation has gone up. The Trump tariffs are making life more expensive by thousands of dollars a year for everyday Americans. They visited chaos and crisis and confusion on the American people from day one of the Trump presidency. And now they've decided that they'd rather shut the government down than fix our broken health care system.
Now, check this out, y'all. Y'all got those bites ready? So check this out. Speaker Mike Johnson went on the C-SPAN show, and he got lit into it by a Republican over health care and a military spouse. Let's play the first one.
On the Republican line, Fort Belvoir, Virginia. Samantha, you're on with Speaker Johnson.
Hi,
Hi, Mr. Johnson. So my question or comments are related to what you said yesterday about not being open to pass any legislation to ensure that military gets paid. I'm sure you can tell by my voice I'm very shaky. Just want you to hear a little bit about my family. I have 2 medically fragile children. I have a husband who actively serves this country. He suffers from PTSD from his 2 tours in Afghanistan. If we see a lapse in pay come the 15th, my children do not get to get the medication that's needed for them to live their life because we live paycheck to paycheck. I heard you earlier say that you side with President Trump on anything that he says. Well, I just read an article this morning that said he absolutely wholeheartedly believes that there needs to be legislation put in so that we do not miss a paycheck. You have the power to do that. And as a Republican, I'm very disappointed in my party, and I'm very disappointed in you because you do have the power to call the House back. You did that, or you refused to do that just for a show. I am begging you to pass this legislation. My kids could die. We don't have the credit because of the medical bills that I have to pay regularly. You could stop this, and you could be the one that could say military is getting paid. And I think that it is awful, and the audacity of someone who makes 6 figures a year to do this to military families is insane.
Republican line, Fort Belvoir, Virginia. Samantha, you're on with Speaker Johnson.
Hi, Mr. Johnson.
I'll turn it back over to the leader. We take some questions, but we've heard, and many of you have reported already, this Hate America rally that they have coming up for October 18th. The Antifa crowd.
All right, wrong clip. I'm going to set that up a little bit later. So there were a couple of clips there. Republicans were calling the C-SPAN complaining about what Johnson could do. And, of course, he's looking like a bump on the log. That's what he does. That's how he operates, Matt. And he keeps wanting to say, well, you can't call Democrats. He's afraid to seat the woman from Arizona because she's going to be the 218th vote of Epstein. The reason he's keeping them out, this is all about Jeffrey Epstein. They do not want those Jeffrey Epstein files released.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. And I don't know if that's all that it's about, but I do know that when I watch this kind of stuff, it just incenses me more than I can even imagine or I can explain, because Congress continues to get paid during the shutdown. You know what I did last week? I called one of my best friends from college, one of my brothers who lives in D.C., and I don't know how he's going to make his mortgage. He doesn't know when he's going to be getting paid. Like, these are real people's lives. I have clients whose cases have been placed on perpetual stays because the prosecutor doesn't know if she's going to be able to check her email while the government is shut down. So all this political posturing, all of this BS, I get it. And I think the Democrats are doing the right thing in not, kowtowing to the Republicans. But all of the political pageantry is garbage. Like, at the end of the day, the people that call in, that's what's angering me about this, that we as citizens are allowing 500 people in D.C. to hold us hostage. And they're pointing fingers at the other person. But at the end of the day, families can't get their medication. And my buddy doesn't know how he's going to pay his mortgage. Like that, we should, as a society, people of all walks, should be infuriated that these bozos can't figure out how to keep the government open. But I guarantee you, everybody who's got an extension for their taxes here in October is going to be expected to pay those taxes in October, right? I mean, what are we doing? Like, are we serious about this? 10 days and the government's not open, and all we hear is political pageantry about how it's the other side's fault. Like, at a baseline, do your jobs, and you shouldn't be able to get paid while other people aren't getting paid in this meantime. Why should we be the pawns in this political process? So,
no, Congress gonna always get paid now.
Exactly, because it's constitutionally protected. But your average American isn't. Like, this lady's calling in about her kid's medication, talking about the military should get paid. And I get it. There are a lot of nuances about who will get paid and who won't in certain departments and all of that. But by and large, we as American citizens should be infuriated because we send these bozos to D.C. to do a basic job like keep the government open, which should only exist to provide services and to make sure we have harmony in this country, right? We've got some kind of infrastructure where we're not purely anarchical, but they can't even keep the government open. So, all of it is political posturing, and it just pisses me off that we have to be the ones who are caught in the lurch here because these idiots in D.C. can't figure out how to get people paid. I mean, it's absurd. Well, it really is.
And here's what people don't even realize, Candace. This is only a 7-week continuing resolution. Just 7 weeks. We're going to be back at this in 7 weeks.
Yeah, we could be back at the start of this. You know, I think one of the things that's interesting, we were talking about how constitutionally they're going to get paid, even if they don't do their job, which they're not doing their job. I mean, their job is to work for us and to have a meeting of the minds and come up with solutions. What's also not constitutional is even not paying some of the people that are that have been furloughed, that are going to be losing their jobs, because according to the law, HR is not working in all of this process because there's not money to pay HR. And legally, they are not allowed to not pay people. They are not allowed to take people off of furlough because HR is shut down. So how is this even happening? This is, you know, we talk about the Constitution. Little by little, we are breaking down the Constitution to where it almost doesn't matter. It's hard to go to the courts because the courts are filled and stacked with people that President Trump has put into place. And we don't know how fearful people are of their positions, and they don't want to take chances. So all we're doing is dealing with people who are getting paid and actually not doing their job. And this is why we are at a standstill. And like Matt said, we deserve more. It is very disconcerting to think about that. We talk about votes and we talk about redlining and everything from the civil rights movement all the way up to now. And our votes are just not working because the people who we put into office, they're not doing their job. That's incredible. If we weren't doing our jobs, we would be let go. But this is something where the Democrats have to rise and battle and roar the same way that the Republicans do.
And the reality is MAGA don't give a damn, Michael. They don't care. They got no problem, these folks. Look, they want to fire hundreds of thousands of government workers. They don't care.
Well, they can say that now, but as their friends and family lose their paychecks, keep in mind, 85% of government employees live outside of the Washington, D.C. area. They're all across the country. They work at your Social Security Administration location. They work at the Veterans Affairs location. They work for the U.S. Postal Service. So their federal employees are local. OK, but I have news for people. Back during last year, 2024, I warned people about a second Trump administration. And I told you a number of times there were 3 government shutdowns in the first 2 years of the first Trump administration, and Republicans controlled the White House, the House of Representatives, and the U.S. Senate. The last government shutdown from December 2018 to January 2019 lasted 35 days. We're less than a third through this one. I mean, compared to that one, it can get much worse. But this is what you're dealing with. And the ombudsman, Russell Vought, is the architect of Project 2025 that Donald Trump said he knew nothing about. But Russell Vought was your ombudsman in the first Trump administration. No, this is what they wanted. This is what they've been planning. They're going to be a lot of permanent reductions in federal government. OK, the 2.3 million now is less than 2.3 million. There are going to be a lot of permanent reductions. So, and a lot of MAGA is going to feel a lot of pain. This is going to hurt them. And some of them are going to have to be hurt economically for them to really wake up.
Well, we'll see if they actually do wake up.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, Go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.